Hi everybody, this is Jim Wall at Jim Wall's Percussive Arts Academy at Blue Buddha Music Studio in Cleveland, Ohio. Today I want to talk to you real quick about buzz rolls. I got 4 hacks or tips that can help it become easier for you to learn them quickly. And if you'd like to get more in depth on this, hit me up. I'll leave all my information in the description. And we could do a private lesson either over Zoom or Skype or whatever, or if you're in the Cleveland, Ohio area, we could get together and go over some of this stuff. So I'm going to try to make this real brief. There's a lot more I would like to say about it, I'm sure, but I'm going to try to give you the abridged version here. So if you like this video, you find it helpful, or you think it might help somebody else that you know, please give me the like, the share. If you could subscribe, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you could subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you hit the notification bell, then you'll find out when I come out with new stuff. All right? So the buzz roll is comprised of buzz strokes. And when we play buzz strokes, we're setting the stick into motion, and it vibrates, and we hit a bunch of notes really close together, and it creates the illusion of one long held out note. Because on the drums, we don't get to control how long a drum or a cymbal rings. It decays at its own speed. So not like a trumpet or a cello where we can hold a note for a long time. So by playing all these notes really quickly, we get this steady stream, and it can sound somewhat like static. Okay. Now I'm going to give you 4 hacks or tips that can help you learn the buzz stroke more quickly. What I'm going to do right here is I'm going to hold the stick in the last bend of my index finger, so the farthest bend towards the tip. I'm going to create a little cradle for the stick to sit in, and then I'm going to pinch it with my thumb, and I'm going to make it so that there's not enough room for the stick to come through into my hand. I don't want it up here because then I can't use these fingers to control it. So I want to stay down here. I'm going to pinch it so there's not enough room for it to come through. And on my right hand, by the way, I want to have my thumb and my finger in the same spot. If one's out further than the other, I don't have a really good foundation, a good pivot point. Okay? So on my right hand, my thumb is going to be facing up towards like 10 or 11 o'clock. On my left hand, my thumb will be facing up towards like 1 or 2 o'clock. Now, with the grip as well, I need to control how tightly I'm gripping it, and also how much contact is being made with these fingers that are underneath the stick. In other words, my middle, ring, and pinky fingers. So if I squeeze it too tightly, I'm not going to get a very long buzz. It's going to end really, really quick. I'm choking it. Right? That's not what we're looking for. Similarly, if I drop the stick and I don't control it enough, it's going to bounce more like a basketball would, where you'd hear one high bounce and then a shorter, like this. So that's not going to give us a good buzz roll either. So what we need to do is find the right tension between the thumb and the index finger, and then also figure out how much pressure, if any, we're going to put on the stick from underneath with these other fingers. Now that brings me to the next tip for you, which is, at first when you're learning this, it's going to be very helpful if you don't put too much momentum into that initial stroke, because if you do, it's going to want to bounce really high, and you're going to have to control that, and you're going to have to squeeze the stick harder. After you learn how to play a buzz roll, then you can dive into that and get more aggressive with how hard you're hitting, and you'll be able to control it. But when you're first starting off, I really recommend hitting the drum really softly. In fact, I would recommend not throwing it at all with your wrist, but just dropping it from maybe 6 inches or so. Okay? Now, if I drop it and I squeeze the stick too much, then it's going to choke. If I don't control it at all, it's going to be too grainy. You're going to hear too much space between the notes. So what I would recommend is taking the stick and squeezing it a little bit tight at first, and maybe putting a little bit of pressure down here, and hear it choked, and then loosen up little by little. I'm loosening up. Right now I don't have either my pinky or my ring finger touching the stick. I just have the middle finger and my thumb and index finger holding it at that pivot point. If I start to loosen up, then I'll get to the point where I hear that nice sustained buzz without it bouncing too high and getting grainy. So here's that. There we go. That's pretty good. And the third hack or third hit tip I want to hip you to is that if you play closer to the edge of the drum, closer to the rim, the head is actually tighter and will give you more bounce. So eventually, obviously, you want to be able to play the roll anywhere on the drum. But at first, when you're first trying to learn this, along with just dropping it instead of throwing it, try hitting it near the rim. You want to hit both sticks the same distance from the rim. Now that could be that they're next to each other like this, or they could actually be on different sides of the drum, but the same distance from the rim or same distance from the center. As long as the drum is tuned relatively well, then you'll get the same sound out of both sticks. Now, if I have one stick on the edge and one in the middle, it's not going to sound very even. I'm going to have a higher pitched one and a lower. And one's going to want to bounce more than the other. So I'm not going to get a very steady roll. It's not going to create that illusion of one sustained note. That's not so good. All right, so I want to be the same distance from the rim with both sticks. I want to hit with the same velocity. I don't want to hit one stick louder or harder than the other. And like I said, if the softer you play it first, the better. So here we go. I've got my grip, right? We got a pinching between the thumb and the index finger, not making too much contact down here because that can stifle the stick from continuing to bounce. I'm going to drop it and I'm going to stay near the edge for now. Okay. Now, the first exercise I want to give you to work on is to do exactly what I was doing. Just play one buzz stroke with the right and let it ring for a long time. Then with the left and let it ring. Don't worry about making it sound like a roll yet. Just get each stroke to sound really nice. Okay. Before we go any further, I want to give you the fourth hack, which is a little bit less about technique and more about the drum itself. If you have your snares, so for those of you who may not know, a snare drum has a control that flips the snares, which are wire strands, up against the bottom of the drum. If without them engaged, it sounds like a tom-tom, like that. Right? Once I flip this up, there's different drums have different ones. Some flip this way, some flip this way. You can hear the snares now are engaged and they rattle. Well, you can also loosen and tighten them. And if they're really tight, you can still play a buzz roll, but you're gonna hear the individual notes a little bit more. If I loosen those snares, you'll hear the pitch drop right when they get really right on the edge, right in the perfect spot. Oh, there it is. Even a little more. Oh, yeah, hear that? Now, the snares are going to rattle so much that it's going to fill in the space between my notes and my buzz strokes, and it's going to make it even more like one sustained sound. Okay, so here's the four hacks. The grip, having the grip right. Again, sometimes I don't even let these fingers touch the stick sometimes, the ones underneath. Especially if I'm playing quietly, they're not even touching right there. I'm just dropping the stick and pinching it between these two. The harder I hit hit the stroke, then I have to start to control that initial bounce, because I don't want it to go like when you drop a basketball. But what if I have to play it really loudly? Well, when I play it loudly, then I have to pinch a little bit harder, and I have to restrict the motion of the stick. I don't want it to go like that. I'm going to keep it a little bit tighter with these fingers, and I may put one or all of them on the stick to help keep it from making too big of a bounce, of a rebound. Okay. Sometimes you can, if you're making a strong buzz stroke, you can hit it and pinch it right when you hit it, and then loosen up your grip to allow it to continue to sustain. That works better when you're just doing a buzz stroke on its own, like you could do in a groove. All right. And the other hacks, when you're first learning it, remember to just drop it instead of throwing it, so you don't have to try to fight that energy that you've created, and to play near the edge when you're first learning, so the drum helps you out a little bit. You get to hear it. And then the loose snares thing, that's up to you. You know, you don't want to loosen up your snares so much that every time you hit any drum, it sounds, you know, the snares rattle and it makes your whole drum set sound messy. Depends on the style of music. There's no right snare sound. There's, God, an infinite number of great snare sounds. So this one, I've got it pretty open. All right. Now, one exercise is the one I was just showing you a minute ago, where you just put plenty of space in between your right and your left, and you gradually speed it up. Right? Another one would be to play 16th notes buzzed, 1 E and a 2, and then play 2, 3, and 4 as quarter notes. 1 E and a 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2, 3. Then you could do 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, 4. E and a 2 E and a 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a, and then 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a, so it's all roll. If you want, you can put a little pulse on the beats to help keep track. But that depends if you want that to be heard in the music. Most of the time you probably don't. You probably just want it to sound like one consistent thing. You can put the bass drum in there too to help you keep track. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is a crescendo and a decrescendo. A crescendo means you gradually get louder, and a decrescendo means you gradually get softer. So if the drum is quietest near the edge, and it gets louder as you come in, even if you don't hit the drum any harder, here's the same velocity, different location on the head. Okay. Now we can exaggerate that if, as we're coming towards the middle, we also start to make bigger strokes and get our wrists more involved. You know, by the time I get to the middle, I'll be throwing the stick at the head instead of just dropping it. And then I can decrescendo. All right, that's the buzz roll. So good luck with it. You can leave comments, ask questions in the comments, and feel free to hit me up for a personal lesson. I'd love to work with you on an individual basis. All right, so if you found this helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like and subscribe buttons and hit the notification bell if this is on YouTube. So you get notified when I come out with new videos. I'm going to try to do these relatively frequently. And in the comments, feel free to let me know if this was helpful, or if you have any questions, or if there's any other things that you would like me to address in future videos. All right, so here's a little bit of buzz roll stuff, and I'll look forward to seeing y'all next time. Thanks so much. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.